Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, as-salatu was-salamu ala rasulihil kareem. So in this video I want to talk about again the differences between philosophy, science and religion. Right. I've talked about this in the previous video also, but this is an important topic, so I want to continue on that. So what happens is that as I said, like when we talk about religion and science, they both have directions. They have an endpoint. So in science, nature is the endpoint, or you can say our experiments is the endpoint, and in religion, scripture is the endpoint. Right? So what happens is that when we observe something in scripture, if needed, right? Obviously, logic is an important part of science, but it's an optional part of religion. Right? So there have been phases in religion, in the history of religion, where people have tried to rationalize religion, right? And so in that sense, it's optional. People have followed religion even without logic, right? But in these times, I think that logic is an important part of religion, not because religion is dependent on it. It's because of the nature of the time we live in. So religion has a direction. There is scripture, and people have tried to use logic to justify scripture. Science, nature is the standard, and the endpoint is nature. In other words, and people have tried to. People always use logic, right? Mathematics to justify the whatever they observe in nature. So these two, religion and science, is what we can call as directional thinking. They have a direction and an endpoint. Whereas when it comes to philosophy, and I heard a philosopher once say that philosophers have not agreed on anything, right? And which makes sense, right? Anything logical is a possibility in philosophy. So there's no direction, right? If you come up with a logic, there's no way to test that logic, right? And so if some other person finds a logical reason to counter your logic, then he or she is as right as you are, because logic is the standard, right? So there is no direction. So it's directionless field, right, of knowledge. So this is why. Now this is an important point. So this is why scientists, in this sense, scientists and religious people, start behaving in similar ways. In other words, they develop some sort of aggression towards philosophy, right? When a lot of physicists, I've observed that also, right? That physicists are not that interested in philosophy, right? Because they're so used to that directional thinking, that nature is the standard, that they want to always have a standard to test their logic, right? And so Stephen Hawking, right? He died a few years back. He once said that philosophy is dead, right? Which the philosophers really got upset about. You can find an article. You can just Google it and find it online. And so in that sense, right? And obviously, a lot of religious people don't like logic, right? Especially those people who want to just follow scripture without logically testing it. But this generation of people obviously need logic to follow religion, right? A lot of the youth that we have. So this is the conclusion of this video, that we have directional thinking in science and religion, and directionless thinking in philosophy, which is why scientists and religious people develop similar attributes and similar intensity in their devotion towards both of the fields, whereas philosophers are always confused, right? They don't have any way except logic to test their ideas. So thank you for watching.